What? Stop it.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Lyceum night coming to you from the Paul Christian Spiritualist Church in Paul, Dorset down in the south of the UK. So great delight tonight to welcome a wonderful person back to our Lyceum evening. Sweet laugh now. The wonderful Elaine Bevan. So just going to wait here. Hello, here we go. People are coming in. Welcome. Big shout out from people as you enter the room. Let us know where you're from and who you are. Would be wonderful. So Lyceum nights. These are all things appertaining to spiritualism. So we are talking about the religion and philosophy of spiritualism in many, many guises, and interacting with people and debating and talking. And tonight's topic, to start with, although these evenings actually take on an energy and a life of their own, as we are well aware, and we're going to be talking about circles in general. So I see there's people joining us online. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hello, Joanna, Peaceful Moon, Sarah Jane, Phil, good evening, and welcome. So, yes, circle work. So, but before we do, Elaine, welcome again.
Thank you. I will try not to say rude words today.
I hope not to. I know you won't, but that just shows that you're human. So, yeah, it's funny, before I drop this bombshell on you, oh yeah, surprise, you're doing tonight, live on live, carry on. We were talking about circles.
Yes.
So, the wonderful thing about these Lyceum evenings is not only have we got a live interactive viewers, joiner-inners on with us tonight, that these recordings become available in future use. And we found quite a lot of people will watch these going forward, be it on Facebook or our YouTube channel or anything like that. So it's really informative and a useful tool. So should we go back to the basics about circles? The actual basics. We go back to Spiritualism 1.0.
101.
101, yeah.
Well, we know that when the movement first started in the 1800s, once people had become aware that you could actually train this energy, you could work with it in some way, the choice was really home circles. There weren't churches at that point in time. There may have been groups and associations, but they hadn't formalized themselves into a religion. And I think the interesting thing about home circles is you would probably only sit with like-minded individuals, because it would be people you know from your community, from your family. And so some of the difficulty of getting the energies to gel would not have been apparent then. Because certainly today you'll have Uncle Tom Cobley and all wants to join a circle, and not all energies mesh well together. And it is the responsibility of the circle leader, whoever that is, to make sure the mix of energies is right. It's at its optimum performance for the work for the spirit world. And so it's a little bit hard when everyone wants to be a medium, or everyone wants to be a trance medium, or everybody wants to be a healer, because not everyone will have the right level of energy to go a particular path. And part of the development of the medium is their recognition of what the path should be, their soul's path, as well as the circle leader doing some sort of assessment while they're training and developing. So a little bit worried that a lot of people jump on the bandwagon these days that may not be right for the path they particularly want to take.
Yep, very true. I've had many a discussion with people. Again, we're in a different society as we were to the 1940s, 50s, or earlier, in fact, when spiritualism really took off in the homegrown lands. And there is still it's almost like a sense of entitlement. I want to be an evidential medium.
Yes, that's true.
You know, I've seen a medium work, and I want to do that. And you think, actually, I've had people say that to me. Oh, I want to be a medium. And I'm like, really? Really? I don't think you do, love.
No, and they come to circles for maybe 2-3 months and think that's it, I can give a message.
Yeah.
Not understanding that when you're working with that level of power, to maintain that level of energy for, say, a 45-minute demonstration takes a bit more than one message, dear. Either that, or it's going to be a very long message and a very bored audience. It's all about understanding how the energy works, external to the medium and within the medium themselves. But it's disappointing that people don't want to put in the level of commitment, the level of dedication, the level of time that the past mediums would automatically give in order to be the best channel possible for the spirit world. I mean, we have all heard stories of how long X sat to develop bank account numbers, or Y sat to get deep trance and materialization. These things don't happen in 6 months.
Exactly.
It's all about dedication. You know, the spirit world have got eternity to wait. If we aren't the best we can be in a year, so it's 2 years, it's 3 years, it's 5 years, it's 10 years. It doesn't matter to them as long as we are constantly progressing our understanding. We're increasing our spiritual intellect. We're becoming more aware of the energy and understanding the part we play, this contract that we have with the spirit world.
Indeed, indeed. And also, sadly, a lot of the time, the thing about personal development isn't explained to people.
Yes.
You know, we have some people coming in with the wants, and actually their character and their very nature are sort of like so opposing energy to support what should be the most monumental and miraculous. Every message is a miracle.
Yes, exactly.
Every message is. It's not another badge on my shirt or another tick in the box. It's an absolute miracle.
Yeah, because we're bringing 2 dimensions together to communicate through a method that we understand to a degree, but fully don't comprehend the extent of it and what it is capable of in its entirety. And there used to be an old saying, I don't know if you remember it, physician, heal thyself. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of mediums, a lot of healers that are still dealing with their own baggage, not realizing that impacts on how the energy works through us. We don't have to be living a life that's saintly and good, because very few of us are fortunate enough to get that. What we have to do is... Yeah, I can see your halos around your neck at the moment. We have to be aware that at times what we're going through impacts on the work we want to do, impacts on how close spirit can get to us, because we're focusing on material, the physical, the mental, the emotional. We're not focusing on the spiritual. And that's because part of our lesson is this life. It's learning to carry that spirituality into everything that we do, which is never easy, nor is it meant to be. Our soul is striving for that ascension, that understanding that although we are clothed in this short, fat physical body, within is a power that is beyond our understanding.
Yeah, that is very true. And there's a statement here from the lovely Phil Shaw. Elaine, so right, read the time commitment. Takes years of development, which was given to our generation of mediums. Also personal development imperative to mediumistic expertise. Yeah, very true, Phil. And that is an angle that is often left out, this person.
Yes.
You know, I've said to people, if you go on this path, you will change.
Exactly. And not just change spiritually, you have to change physically, because we are acting as ambassadors for that other dimension. And one of the things we can't do is chat as if we're down the pub with the lads. That's not appropriate. Whatever our religion, we are in God's house and we are representatives of that spiritual path. And, you know, I remember hearing a medium who shall remain nameless telling a lady she was up the duff. And I was so taken aback by that comment in a public meeting, because there are personal things that if you have to bring them out, you need to do it in a way that's not offensive, that's polite, or you say, I'll come and talk to you at the end of the evening. Because at the end of the day, people come to us at a time of great need in their life. They don't want to be entertained. They want to be enabled to move forward in their life.
Yeah, very true. And sadly, in some areas, this wonderful ability of evidential mediumship has strayed into that entertainment factor and not realizing, the truths that each message conveys.
Oh gosh, yes. When we're arguing in group this week about the difference between evidence and proof, and I actually went into the legal definitions, and it was fascinating that evidence comes first, and it's pieces of evidence that come together to a level that now you have absolute proof. And I can't think of a better gift to give anyone in this world than the proof that the person you loved and lost is there, waiting by your side, waiting to reach out and touch you, waiting to remind you of the love and the life you've shared together. And for a parent, imagine having the proof your child is safe. Your child may be in another dimension, but will be surrounded by love and healing and light. How much pain will that take away from that parent's loss? We have a responsibility. We have a duty of care to the people that come to our churches.
Yeah, very true. And not only are they there by our side, but they are also living a life.
Yes, and we want to enable them to move on with their life.
Yeah, and it's that part of the evidence as well. This is what they're doing in this life between lives as well.
Yes.
We were talking earlier, and so, people have this fixed image that Aunt Elsie, who used to sit in a wingback chair eating nougat, is still, in the halls of eternity, sat in a wingback chair eating nougat. Well, actually, Aunt Elsie is probably off out exploring things that we can't even begin to imagine.
Yeah, I think sometimes, and forgive me if I offend anyone, I'm not going to swear.
Not again.
But I think the term religion is far too narrow because it depends on the programming someone has had in childhood as to how open their mind can be about progression of the soul from life to life, between lives, where the soul is ultimately aiming to go with its development, both in the physical life and its understanding of its development when it returns to that dimension. If you've had a very rigid religious upbringing, it can prevent you from being open-minded enough to take a concept that might feel strange, but examine it, work with it to the point that you think, okay, there is a grain of truth here, and now I need to follow that path for myself. Mediums are meant to sow the seed in order that people can then go on and reap the benefit of the harvest.
Yeah, indeed. And I always say that when you are on that spiritualism learning pathway, it actually helps you to understand orthodox religions.
Oh gosh, yes.
And see things in a totally different light and go, you know what, that makes now I can understand that was transfiguration.
Yeah.
That was a physical mediumship. That was all sorts. And you can actually go, oh, wow, yeah. And it actually strengthens that understanding, but at the same time, taking the shackles off as well.
Yeah, because I think we are opening our minds more to, the cosmos, to dimensions, and understanding that the language of the time for whatever religion you're looking at limited how they could explain what they were seeing or what they were experiencing. And now with our very inquiring minds, our technology, with the fact that we're pushing back scientific boundaries, we can look at those things again and say, do you know, there's something in that. That wasn't a chariot of fire, but was it some sort of ball of fire, light or something, when an ascended being came to Earth to assist at that point in time? I've always felt that we are assisted as a race, as a species, when the time is needed by some sort of higher intelligence. I don't know if it's angels with wonderful wings. If I see one, I'll tell you, because I'm really looking forward to that. But there is and I won't say interference, but it's like there's a prompt from this higher knowledge to say, hang on a minute, guys, you may not be going the right path for your culture, for your species. Look again, think about it, take the broadest understanding you can, because every faith, every belief, every religion has in it a core, to me, that is positive. But not all the accoutrements around that core are essential. Some of them are tying people's hands, they're stopping them from thinking for themselves. And one of the things, excuse me, one of the things I thank spiritualism for, it reminded us that we are responsible for our development, both as a being and as a spirit. We are responsible. We can't go to some high altar and say, forgive me. We've got to learn to forgive ourselves and those around us for the actions in order that our soul can change the perspective when we return to the other dimensions. And, we all say first, to love someone, you've got to love yourself. I think we're going to learn to like ourselves, quite frankly.
And those of you regular watchers know that this is my least favourite subject, about loving yourself. Lawrence struggles with that one, maybe, but never mind. But yeah, when we embark on that circle part of our development, one of the greatest attributes to me is you learn yourself. And it's been very much driven to working straight away, get messages, and without that understanding. But a good circle, you will start to learn through the various exercises, maybe starting off with the psychic side or starting off with the meditation, but learning all these techniques and getting that good firm foundation. It's a bit like a diamond. We've got to polish all the facets.
Definitely. And I think too, we've got to be aware that not everybody we will gel with, not everybody will vibrate at the same frequency. So there will be people, perhaps even in circle, that will think, your energy is not right for me. And I remember years ago, as a student medium, actually falling foul of my circle leader's energy and thinking, I cannot sit with this person anymore. They're going down a path that isn't vibrating with me. It's, engendering a discomfort in me. And I took myself off to speak to one of our ministers, and they said, but you know the answer. And I said, well, I'm not meant to be there. And they went, no, you've got to start a new phase of your development. And it's with someone else, somewhere else. And it was very difficult because you don't want to let people down. You don't want to disappoint them. But sometimes your pathway will be a lone pathway. Simple as that.
Yeah, I fully get that. And also the honesty within circles. We've had experiences, both positive and negative, on that front, where Margaret, bless her.
Lovely lady.
Absolutely brilliant. Margaret Clawton, a straight-talking Yorkshire lady.
Exactly.
And there was no mince in her words. She was absolutely brilliant. But we were talking on this subject once, and she was quoting a medium whose circle attendees, she said, I don't understand why these people are sitting in these circles, blah, 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 without going into detail. And I said, well, Margaret, just do the maths. This person's running a circle 5 nights a week, 10 people, £10 a head.
Oh, dear.
And she went, now it makes sense.
Oh, that is so sad.
Margaret was very much of the ilk. If you went to sit in her circle, and after a while it became apparent that actually your pathway lies in your healing mediumship, she would tell you.
Yes.
And she would say, this is this circle is not for you.
Well, in the old days, and I know I look very young at 21. I know I can't help that. But the
more Vaseline on the camera.
The mediums that have trained me over the years, and believe you me, I'm not what I call one of the old mediums, so I like their style. they understood that you're part of the process of this. You can't say, oh, I'll wait for spirit to bring this through. Train yourself, develop yourself, hone yourself, change yourself, listen to your own spirit. And I think the trust that some of the old school mediums had was phenomenal. I think we've become quite insecure sometimes, and I don't mean ego. I'm not talking about ego, because any medium worth their salt knows you could get up there tonight and that'll be the night you fall on your face. You just hope to God it isn't. And certainly, yes, some of that anxiety we know is the energy changing within us as we prepare ourselves to work. But the trust the old school have, I take my hat off to them. They believed 101%. If spirit said they'll be there, they will be there at that time, and everything will happen. And people are so distrusting and mistrusting these days because we have downgraded what mediumship is really about. And it's not just the mediumship, can I say, it's the philosophy of the movement. I don't want to go into the religious bit, that's too narrow, but the philosophy about living, developing, enabling, growing. We keep losing sight of that, and give us a quick message and we'll be happy and we'll go on our way. That's not what it's about. This is a lifetime of learning and developing. And Elaine needs to shut up, I think, because you've got quite a few comments there.
No, you're fine. That actually engenders something. I can only base the old school mediums on the ones in this area who I grew up with. But there was a great camaraderie between all those mediums.
And a respect for each other.
Huge.
Yeah.
And that's something we don't see so much. We tend to be going out working all the time, and we're not actually in our peer groups.
Yeah, and I think something that Laurie's been saying to me for months now, we don't take care of our mediums. On one level, some of the mediums of the past weren't taken care of because they'd travel miles on a bus for a few pence. So there was a practical lack of care. But now people don't care for each other. For mediums having a bad time, we should be supporting each other. We should be respectful. You know, you don't want the moment you're tuning in before a service is someone knocking on the door saying, can I just come in for a quick nap? No, you can't come in. I want to talk to spirit at the moment. And afterwards, everybody says, oh, could I have your number? Or could, forget that we're physical. Give us that time to be in that energy, to link only with the spirit world. Because to me, they're the ones that matter.
Yeah.
And I don't mean I don't care about humanity. I do. But if I'm not paying attention to the spirit world, I'm not going to be able to do the job properly for them.
Exactly. And also, going into our churches and centres who are keeping their vibrations to the best that they can be, because we can go in sometimes in the middle of the committee having an all-out warfare, or somebody's ex has just turned up in the congregation.
I've actually been into a church when there's been healers physically fighting each other in the aisles, and I thought, physically fighting, and I'm thinking, what the heck's going on? I'm just gobsmacked. Do you not want to pick up from some of your comments?
I'm sorry, I've just seen a mental image of some of our healers. That's great. Anyway, yes, as Elaine keeps pointing out.
People want to feed back.
Phil Shaw, sadly, concrete evidence is often lacking in platform mediumship. Generalization about alleged communicators is given prominence, which a lot of recipients accept because they are unfamiliar with the high quality of mediumship, which our generation were accustomed to from exceptional exponents like Gordon Higginson, Mary Duffy, Doris Collins, etc. This is why Elaine and Laurie are a breath of fresh air to watch.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. You have to come down and have a cup of coffee sometime. He does very good quiche.
Oh, that's funny, because that's what we got tonight. Psychic.
Oh, must be.
But yeah, it's very true that, but funny enough, Jack, the other night we were talking about his visit to the UK. It's 3 weeks tomorrow. They're going to be over here. But just having a yes in a message is probably not good enough. You know, we go, yes, and we think, oh, thank God for that.
Yeah, no, I like it when even the person you're giving the information to doesn't know. But the next week you see them, they went, I asked my mother and she was gobsmacked. Or I spoke to my husband, he said, Joe, that's his granddad. The things where people have to verify it gives me more confidence than every yes. Because I need to know, as most of us mediums do, it's outside my consciousness. It mustn't be my mind that gets involved. I'm just... Sorry, I'm laughing at them. They said, she's just an empty vessel making a lot of sound. And yes, they're right. I am an empty vessel making a lot of sound.
Lovely Tony Gosswell. I've always understood it's not wrong. It's not wrong to move to another circle. You have to find one that suits you. And maybe after a while, you feel it's time to move to another. It's your personal growth.
Yes, exactly. Yeah? Exactly.
I sat in 5 different circles in my development, and these weren't throwing toys out of the pram. It was just a natural evolution. Maybe one circle would finish, and then the right circle would appear, or I was kicked out of a circle for, you know,
being a naughty boy.
No benefit. Anyway, but yeah, no, I agree, Tony. And again, because you say, we keep looking at our mediumship in whichever way that is manifested. It is like a diamond, and the more facets you polish, the brighter that shine is going to be. You know, if you just set your course to being, I want to be an evidential medium, and you know, I've had it here with the church approaches of saying, oh, I want to work at your church. I don't do prayer. I don't do philosophy. And I'm like, well, you don't do a church service then.
Yeah, but mind you, having said that, I know when I first started out, any mediums who trained in the London area that came south used to say they never chose their readings. They just did the address based on the reading the chairperson had. And apparently that was common practice in some of the London churches.
I like that energy. And sadly, you don't get it so much.
I think it's challenging because you've no idea what your chairperson's going to choose. And, you know, they might choose something that you've never read, which means you've got to have a blinking good, nearly swore, thank you. You've got to have a blinking good link with spirit to only get inspiration, because you don't know what it is that's going to be presented to you. Well, so it's quite challenging. So it's probably good for our growth.
I think there's a wonderful... I first came across it in Ilfracombe, and the church does the reading.
Oh, right.
And I thought, I love this. I've got everything ready, and that all went out the window, and something totally different came in. But I just thought, oh my God, I love this.
Well, I must admit, I haven't been in that situation. I've been in churches where I've...
Wait till tomorrow, everybody.
I'll tell you about tomorrow. Where I've been prompted to choose a reading. I not choose it. I open a book. Yeah. And if it's the right energy, then I think, oh, that's what you want to read. But I've also got on the platform with it already chosen in that manner, opened the book, and they've said, no, not this one. And I thought, oh, flipping heck, I've read this one. And I've just thought, shut up, Elaine, just get on with the job and move to the page they want read. Now, I know the spirit world have done that for a reason, because someone in that congregation, that audience, has come in, maybe not originally intending to, but then suddenly they need to be there. So the spirit world knows what's needed. Yeah. I don't need to know.
We want to know because we're human.
Yeah, and mental mediums are just that. We're very mental. We've always got to poke our nose in. But it's the spirit world's job to get the information through, and ours to facilitate the flow of information. They know what's needed. And that's what's so sad today. We don't listen to the spirit world. You think of the wonderful trance talks there were in the past. You know, some of the tapes that have survived from the old mediums, you know, Leslie Flint, isn't it, has got a whole collection. Even Gordon in his day, wonderful talks about from elevated And when I use the phrase ascended, I just mean higher than me, for God's sake. I'm not saying, I'm necessarily talking about ascended masters. I'm not going down that road. What I'm saying is it's an intelligence that sees so much further in life. And we were so blessed to get some of these talks. We should have more of them available to modern young mediums, because there is a need for that depth of knowledge, for that understanding. And we don't see a fraction of the distance in life that the spirit world do. I'm not talking about past, present, and future. To me, it's all the present now, but the information is there. We need to make it available to our circles and our groups. Let them learn from those in the past. I'm not saying that's the only sort of learning to do, but I think there was so much more common sense spoken in the old methods. And I'd love to have sat with some of the old circles, the names that Phil was mentioning, wonderful energies. Mary Duffy was a lovely, lovely soul, very practical, very down to earth, fantastic energy. And, Ursula Roberts, when she was in trance doing addresses, by golly, the air was electric. We don't need the nonsense that's talked about today. We don't need the sort of energy of mysticism or crystals or fairies. The spirit world have all that knowledge at their fingertips. It doesn't need to be dressed up. Let's hear it. Let's have it back on our platforms again, please. I need it.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% there. There is many lifetimes work to try and scratch the surface of what spirit have got to say to us.
Yeah.
And we keep getting sidetracked by stuff.
Yeah, that's why I feel religion is too narrow a field. But what also narrows it is crystal therapy, fifth dimension, that. Let's not put labels on it. Putting labels on something limits it.
Yeah.
By being totally open to what the spirit world want to show us, bring through, whatever, then we're not preventing knowledge coming through. It doesn't matter how or where the knowledge comes from. We just need to be open to receive it. And I ain't going dancing around trees in the middle of the night in a wood. Thank you very much. I'm not. I've got no night vision at all. I'll end up falling over. I want to sit in the stillness of spirit's energy. I want to sit in that pureness, that sanctity. It's so deep and powerful. Why do we need all these extra shenanigans?
Yeah. Well, part of that boils back down again is to the education side, because our education within our movement is often very sadly lacking and very under-supported.
Yes, it's funny, isn't it? And if we look back into our history of modern spiritualism far enough, the learning happened, I think, automatically with mediums, because most of the people who were mediums right at the start of the movement were, by and large, poorly educated, if educated at all, but they had such absolute trust in the connection with spirit that they almost seemed to absorb the information that came through to the point that they were able to grow with it and understand it, and often talk about things that were outside their practical and material experience, because they were giving voice to the words of the spirit world. Today, when we've got all this information available to us, how many mediums continue studying? We were saying just beforehand, I was looking at what Laurie's books are on his table. And, I have started studying the ancient philosophers this last couple of years with the shutdown. And he's the same. You get to one and you think, well, this has nothing to do with spiritualism. Hang on, we're talking about more than just spiritualism. We're talking about spirituality. That doesn't have to belong to any one movement. And some of the ancient philosophers had clairvoyant visions, had experiences outside the normal range of their life. And where was that coming from? It was coming from an infinite mind, from an intelligence. And whatever, that's why religion upsets me so much. We mustn't keep labeling things. Open our minds to the fact that information is there. We've got to raise our vibration to a level where we can access it for the greater good, to enable others to be aware of it.
Definitely. Well, Phil Shaw's just fallen in love with you.
I'll have a word with my husband. I'll see you later.
Yeah, I'm not saying nothing. I'm really not getting in that one. Moving on rapidly.
I have a very wicked sense of humour too.
Yeah. Do you like surprises? Joanna Lewis. Yes, at the Spiritualist church I trained at, they always had someone doing a reading. It used to work well as the medium would take their inspiration from the reading. I believe it flows better and spirit are working at their finest, proving the intelligence of spirit. I love you, Joanna, because that is a phrase that we need to use more, the intelligence of spirit. Yeah,
but also the medium has to have spiritual intelligence.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of mediums that don't broaden their own intelligence on a spiritual basis. Now, I'm not just talking about spiritualism, I'm talking about spirituality. I've read some of the Buddhist philosophy, and I find it absolutely gobsmacking. I really do, because there is such a compassion in that. And then I've read some very structured religions where I think, oh, that's a bit like a punishment, don't do this or else, don't do that or else. Where we can find information that is compassionate and loving and is enabling, I don't care where it comes from. I don't care if it's a religion or if it's a philosopher or if it's some child's story. There's sometimes more magic on the TV, in the cinema, in a storybook than there is in our lives. And that magic is about how we interact with each other, how we care for each other. Do you know, I'm not being funny when I say care. I find it more and more uncomfortable these days when people are dismissive of each other, when they are biased about gender equality or sexuality. I actually find it physically uncomfortable. Now, I can honestly say, before I even studied mediumship, as an ordinary young girl, a young woman, I wouldn't have even thought about it, wouldn't have registered. But now that sort of bias, that nasty feeling, that negativity physically affects me. And I'm convinced as we evolve as mediums, we become more sensitive to the not very nice things in life, just as we become more sensitive to the sheer joy of the communication, to the love that flows from a spirit to the partner still on the earth plane. It brings tears to your eyes as that love flows through you. So you can imagine when we watch cruelty, when we watch nastiness, that's affecting us physically too. And please don't even start me on how people treat animals. God help us, if we can't treat dumb animals kindly, there's no hope for the vulnerable, the young, the old.
Yeah, that's true. And again, when we put that into the context of sitting in a circle, this is another thing. You will develop, if you are under a structured approach to your development by a circle leader who has got your best interest at heart, not their bank balance, your sensitivity will increase.
Oh, amazing.
And unfold.
Yeah.
And exactly, my passion is music. I love music, and depends on the mood of the day. But I love a piece of music that picks me up and dances with me. I'm just in seventh heaven with that sort of music.
For me, it's Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, right. It's film scores. There's some brilliant film scores out there, and they're inspired.
No, I know what you mean, because I got very interested in colour going back about 15 years ago. Some of it came from my career, because as a nurse going through the different stages of promotion, your uniform colour changed, your belts changed, the sort of hat you wore changed. And each one gave you a different feeling. Not just you had an increased knowledge base, but you had an authority that came with it too. And so I started to look at colours and the effects it has on the physical aura. And I've been fascinated about how we use colours these days without even thinking about it. You think about people, there was a time when all hospital corridors, for example, were a very soft green, a bit like this background, because we believed it was soothing as patients were taken on trolleys to the operating theatre. And children's wards would be bright, vibrant colours to distract them from sometimes unpleasant procedures. there is so much in the psychic aspect of our understanding that we're still opening up.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the biggest things is, who do you vibrate with? And I'm not just talking in terms of emotional relationship. The first time I met Laurie, he had been stitches, and I just thought, I like this guy's energy. And it's lovely when you meet other mediums that you have a similar vibration. You're not the same because our lives are different, but you can meet together on a level where there's no need for duplicity, deception, ego. You can just be yourself.
Yeah.
And circles must have that. All the members of the circle must attain that at some point, because that energy has got, the reason they're called circles is the energy goes round and round. It affects all of us. And I don't know about you guys, but I've literally sat in circles where the energy started on the floor and it's come up like I'm sitting in a tank of water and it's going above my head and I'm thinking, whoa, when's this going to stop? And it's because you're gelling together, you're vibrating together, you've made that connection. And once we get that level of energy, the spirit world can do anything. Move mountains. Yes, I heard you, darling. Move a few mountains. I don't mind. Because we forget that phenomena, historically, biblically, was still phenomena.
Yeah.
And they needed energy in which to do that phenomena.
Yeah. And that is so true. If you get that energy, nothing is impossible. And
I know.
We keep limiting ourselves.
Some of it,
we have that access. We can do it.
Yeah. That's it. But the word is access, because it's not our energy. We're accessing the spirit energy. But I think you're right. I do feel that we are slightly insecure in modern times because of the way we are programmed from childhood. Don't do that, you naughty girl. Don't touch that, you naughty boy. Don't do that. It's dangerous. Be careful when you cross the road. There's so much, without us realizing, it's so much negative imprinting. And then you go to school, you either have a good school or a bad school. Then you go to work and you either have a good boss or a bad boss. And all this is having a psychological and psychic effect on us and our spirit. And I'm not saying it's all bad, but most of the time it has a negative connotation. And you're then spending your young adulthood striving to find the real you, striving to be what you're capable of being, whether it's through a career, through a marriage. On top of that, if you're a medium, you're striving to be the best damn medium you can be. Yeah. So we've got to be kinder to each other. We've got to look after each other. His phrase for the year, take care of our mediums. And we've got to be kinder to spirit, because, you guys all know when that love comes through that they have for us, takes your breath away. Takes your breath away.
Yeah. And we always say this, those who aren't working evidential mediums are often in our mediumship, we just get that sensation, when they say, oh, they're saying they love you, they're not actually saying that in our ear unless you are clairaudient. You just get that love whacked on you, and it's like, oh my goodness, wow, where has that come from?
I know. The very first time I felt it, it made me cry. It was the last message of a demonstration. I'm going back years, and it was an old lady. She was well into her 90s, and her husband came in so close. He literally took me over, and the tears just rained down my face. Because he missed her. I'll get upset now. He wanted to hold her again. He wanted to touch her again. And I had to go forward and take her hand just so he felt her warm hand again. That is love beyond anybody's expectation. And everyone should feel it. Yeah. Everyone should feel it.
And all these things are achievable through proper training.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm getting carried away with the excitement of spirit. That's why I have to watch my language. But there's got to be discipline.
Here we go again.
Yeah, there's got to be discipline. And I don't just mean within the circle. The mediums have to have self-discipline. You all get mediums that will go out with their mates to the pub, have a few drinks, and their mates are going, give us a message, give us a message, give us a message. And so you're opening yourself up, if you do it, to the negative energies surrounding you, to the boozy energy. We have no idea whose energy we're picking up in those sort of environments. And if I say there is a sanctity to the work we do, I mean it in its broadest context. I am no angel. You know that because I've sworn on camera. I am very short-tempered, as most nurses who've held senior posts are, because I expect if I say jump, you say how high. But when it comes to working for spirit, they deserve our respect. And it is, to me, it's a sacred contract we have with them. They give us all that love and support. All they ask from us is a bit of time and attention. I think that's a damn good contract. I really do. There's a cat just walked across there, by the way, between the two chairs. I don't know who it was.
Yeah, no, that is so true. We have, it's not a parlour trick. It's not something to be taken lightly and treated disrespectfully. It can make or break somebody, and including the medium.
I think there's a need to recognise the impact we have on our physical bodies at times too, not just the emotional body, but we know that a lot of mediums develop health conditions because they don't particularly follow their own advice at times. But I think emotionally, when we're dealing with people who have had very traumatic lives for whatever reason, it does affect your own soul. You want so much to bring them some form of healing and upliftment because of the pain they're going through. But we have to understand that may not be right at that time in their life. It may not be that they're at that point in their pathway where that can happen. It may be they have to go through this pain. None of us know another's life pathway. All we can do is support as much as possible and enable where possible too.
Yeah, no, that is so true. When we go back to circle work again, and it's the understanding, it's bringing. We're trying something here at Paul, which you instigated with your wonderful circle last year.
Group.
Sorry, I wasn't going on the circle. It was a group. All right, we just sat in the circle. That's a coincidence. Anyway.
Yeah. Only because I didn't want to be stuck week in, week out doing it, as some circles are. Week in, week out, week in, week out. Meditation, what do you get? We wanted dynamic energy, didn't we?
And you brought in that energy of going for a structured, progressive time, but a set time, and that really worked. And again, we're starting a beginner's circle here in July, the same format, not with Elaine, but with another medium. But that medium has produced this structured format for the 7 weeks that it's running. And I love that energy. I think that is, because I've sat in circles and it's like, what do you want to do tonight then?
We'll meditate,
Oh, he's just thinking, well, actually, I want to learn because I've
There's got to be some structure. There's got to be an objective goal for the medium, if not for anything else, because they need to get to that end point and say, okay, so where is my pathway taking me now? Is it actually diverting to healing? Is it diverting to trance work because I need to find the right trainer for both of those? Is it staying on this plane, but I need to be a bit more challenged? The sad thing about some circles, they literally become a weekly meditation stroke snooze. And I'm the worst offender. If I'm sitting there doing nothing, I will go to sleep. Being a diabetic, I'll sleep anywhere. And I don't like that. Let's give that energy to spirit and for a period of time, and then the spirit world will show them either how they feel or with the support of the tutor, what's the next phase? Where do I go from here? And it's not the tutor's responsibility to give you direction. I mean, I will be honest, any good circle leader and tutor should be able to tell if they have a physical medium in the circle from the energies they see in the aura and the chakra. And that was the sort of thing that the sort of assessments that were done historically. I remember dear Gordon Higginson saying that to me, that mediums were assessed to see what energies they already had present in their auric field and how deep that energy was. So they then were guided on the path they need to go. So don't come here and say, I'm going to be a trance medium if you haven't got the appropriate energy, because you can sit till the end of time and you won't get anywhere. And we don't want to waste your time. So we've got to have structure to what we do.
And the other side of that as well is you want, I want to be a trance medium and sit and not get there.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, if I just sat to be what I am, which is a healing medium,
yeah,
the effects would have been astounding.
yeah.
But our single-mindedness, because I want to be a trance, or I want to be evidential, or
And there are other energies that will work better just on the one-to-one basis to do just private readings, because they have the compassion, they're empathetic. I know private readings, again, were also pushed in the past to train you to build that link. But some people will be excellent at it, and others will do it, but it won't be their forte. It won't feel right for them.
Yeah.
So we've got to find the niche that not only they vibrate with, but where the spirit world wants the work done.
Exactly.
And I'd like to see more good speakers on the platform.
Definitely.
Yeah, I love listening to someone who's got that voice of spirit coming through them, and you're taken out of yourself. You don't even know you're in a church or a building anymore. You're lost in that power and that energy. That to me is the real gift of spirit.
Because one of the things that I see not being taught in some circles is it's all about communication.
Yeah.
Communication is a two-way street.
Oh God, yes.
And that is sadly so often overlooked.
Yes, I know. I said to you, in one of the groups this week, one of the students stood there going, and I said, "What are you doing?" "I'm waiting for spirit." I said, "Please don't wait for spirit. Talk to them." "Oh, can I ask them a question?" I went, "Well, how the heck are they going to give you an answer if you don't ask the question in the first place?" "Oh, right." I said, "It's a contract between two spirits, yours and theirs. How are you going to communicate unless you're into telepathy?" I said, "And you might get there in the end, but at the moment," I said, "ask the question and wait for the answer." This passiveness is so wrong. Mental mediumship is very active energy, isn't it?
Very. Hugely. Absolutely hugely. Tony Gosswell there. I agree, a structuring circle is needed. I like a term time circle with a program. And to me, that energy that you're putting into a circle, let's face it, we've all been there. We've set up a circle and we've sat, and after a couple of weeks, you're looking at one thinking, how am I going to get rid of this one?
Oh, you naughty boy.
Well, you do. You just think, all right, maybe that's the wrong way to put that. You just think, you know what, this person isn't suited to this circle for whatever reason.
No, I know what you mean.
And then how do I deal with that?
Well, I've always said right at the start of any training group, I will not confirm anything for you that I can't witness. So I've either got to see it, taste it, smell it, hear it, feel it. I'm not going to say, "Oh yes, you've got the most wonderful aura," if I am not aware of your aura. Conversely, I'm not going to advise you to go any direction unless the spirit world tell me to.
Yeah.
Because it'll be their direction and guidance and your spirit that will make the choice, not me. I've got to deal with my own sorting myself out, living my life and developing me.
Yeah, that's very true. But as I say, if we looked at circles and run them in terms and short group, it does help it adds that energy because you've got that drive, that goal, that focus.
Yeah, and I think it gives you the gap in between for life events, because sometimes if you're in a circle for years and it's every week bar Christmas and Easter or something, what's happening in between is your own life is progressing, your material life, your family's changing, your career may be changing. And it's so hard to maintain the same level of energy when you're overly stressed or worried or anxious. So I think sometimes having a break, though I know some of the old circles, they weren't allowed to go abroad on holiday in the old days. No. They had to be able to drive back in time for the circle.
They used to close like August, wasn't it? That was popular.
Possibly.
It was August, and you had to plan your holidays around the circle. Imagine trying to do that today.
Yeah, it sounds like working for Fords, where they make their vans. But yeah, I think it gives you that break to deal with your own life, because as we are evolving our mediumship, so we are evolving our own soul, and things are happening to us, things that we need to reflect on, we need to take to heart and look at, is this right for me? I think sometimes it's, I think mediumship can be sometimes fits and starts, because there are periods where I know I've been stood back to reflect on something that I'm perhaps not understanding fully. And I need to go back and look at this situation, look at this event and see, have I missed the point? Have I taken on board everything I should have done? So, yeah, I think having some points where there are breaks or gaps isn't a bad thing these days.
And that's quite a common tale from people sat in a circle, that they reach like a plateau and everything stops. And often the response is, oh, well, you know, you're learning more while you're in this period. But actually, that plateau is there for you to reassess where you're going.
But I think also the medium has got to take responsibility, the would-be medium, for studying, for reading, for researching, because it's not just about going to circle, it's about get your finger out and do some studying yourself, look things up, examine, read some of the jolly good books that are around from our pioneers of the past. You know, look at how they worked with the energy. And I'm not just talking about My Life as a Medium by Fred Bloggs. I'm talking about sitting with spirit. What is the difference between psychism and mediumship? What does trance involve? Some of the old school mediums were very good at explaining how they went through all this, what they felt. This is a horrible thing to say, and please forgive me, everybody. I don't think we have the grade of teachers these days that we had once. And I include myself in that, please, I do.
I would say we haven't got as many.
All right, as many. Oh, yes, I'm not saying there's none. Sorry, thank you for correcting me. But we don't.
Just in case whoever's watching it, the numbers dropped.
We don't seem to have the access to as many. You're quite right. And not everybody can afford hundreds of pounds to go and study at this centre or that centre. Maybe the home circles appearing again wouldn't be such a bad thing, because it may be that these people will be more available in a home circle. Not everyone can go to church one night a week forever and a day, but some people who perhaps work part-time or retired might be able to say, well, actually I could do a home circle one afternoon a week and put some energy into training people. I don't want to say that there isn't anyone. That was wrong. It's there isn't the access to as many as we'd like. You know, people often say to medium, it's all right for you, you get plenty of messages for yourself. We don't, do we?
No.
And I haven't had a sitting maybe in 15 years.
Yeah.
Because I don't want someone who's going to flannel me. I want someone who's going to say to me, actually, you're crappy. Oh,
here we go again.
Sorry about that. You're rubbish, Elaine. Go away and study that. Because although sometimes it's harsh to hear that, it can also spur you on to better things.
When I first started off, my partner at the time, I absolutely adored, because I would come off platform and he would go, actually, that was really good tonight. Or will you stop doing that, because that's all you can hear over the microphone. You never went back to that person. And I valued that more, and I'm not being disrespectful. When you go out and serve churches and centres, you go, oh, that was wonderful. Oh, thank you. That was absolutely great. And just sometimes I wish I would like an honest appraisal.
I agree with you.
And if there is an area where I did it with a medium, luckily he let me off and he was all right about it. He'd done a dem and I went up to close it down. And he was, thank you, everybody. And I went, well, actually, you haven't finished. I said, because if you remember, you had a spirit that was not accepted at the back there, but he's still hanging around. He went, do you know what? You're right. And he worked on it, and we found where this spirit was.
I agree.
I thought, I like that, because, you know, he said afterwards, thank you for doing that.
It would be nice to have that objective feedback from people we trust.
This is it. It's, I think that
we have to be very careful, because I'm going to get hung anyway.
You've already said crap.
There's an awful lot of ego in our movements, a lot of ego, and that is so sad. because if we truly want to enable everyone, that means we enable each other as well as working mediums. And I believe the spirit world wants us to enjoy what we do. It's not meant to be painful and sad, because the world is painful and sad. And I believe that the time we work with the spirit world, the time we're in communication with them, is meant to be a sheer joy. So we need to be able to trust each other. And when I say bad words, for you to be able to say, stop swearing.
You stop bloody swearing. Julie Caswell, one of the Wombles, saying their home circle. Try that again. Home circle. Well, I've been taken over.
You should be.
Our home circle came about because of lockdown. I'm not quite sure how to read that, Julie. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt there that was not when we were not allowed out at all. Moving on. But yeah, nice to see that the home circle appeared from there. And I think that home circles really can make a huge difference. The accessibility of them, it's just making sure that we're doing it in the right energy.
Oh yes,
with the intent, the right intent of.
But it also takes us out of the politics of organised religion
And spiritualist religion, because sometimes our own politics can
well
go in.
That's what I was thinking. If you go to this church, you got to believe that. If you go to this church, you got to believe that. It's nice to see there are more independence coming in spiritualist churches. And not, please don't think I'm anti any of them, but I think you have to think for yourself. It's my feeling. And if you're in a church, sometimes the rules and regulations really tie your hands on all levels, not just mediumship. Look at healing. Some days it's quite ridiculous the hoops they have to jump through to be a healer. So I think I don't want politics in this understanding. We've only got to look at world politics to know nobody gets it right. So let's start listening to spirit instead of people on the earth plane who think they have a right to instruct us in a particular way of thinking.
Yes, I agree totally. Joanna Lewis here. I tend to enjoy meditating daily as life can become very emotional, and meditation calms you down and enables you to think clearly and deal with situations calmly. It also helps with your spiritual connection and gives the angels time to help you to help yourself. Thank you for that. Julie Caswell. Thank you for that, darling. It's a family circle, 3 generations of our family, all above board as to lockdown rules.
Lovely.
The only reason I hesitated there, Julie, was because actually I was made aware of circles that did continue. And I was quite surprised through various restrictions, but never mind, we're not all like that. So, Libby Bellhouse, so you're going to love my answer, love. I would love to start a book study group and explore some of the philosophy experience of our pioneers. Well, then do it. It really is that simple.
Actually, a lot of churches are a mine of information on old books that are now out of print and you couldn't get even if you wanted to. So it pays to, perhaps belong to 2 or 3 churches in order to be able to access their libraries. You can get some modern reprints, but I find the quality the modern reprints isn't as good as the original books were. And you've got to remember, although the books historically were written in the language of the day, it's the truth that they contain, the information that they contain that is important, not the language.
Yeah, no, hugely. And also, I quite admire in the Spiritist movement, they are very big on having regular study groups.
Really?
Huge foundation part of their movement. And I think that's wonderful. And I know that they're very well supported as well.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I'm not going to say where I went, but I went on a philosophy course in a centre belonging to a very big movement. And I have never been so disappointed in my life. I went with 3 other mediums. We were all thinking, great, it's a philosophy course. Well, I think the spirit world must have taken a week's holiday that time, because I was incredibly disappointed. People who were supposed teachers, I didn't feel that they had studied their philosophy in any real depth. We had no deep trance mediums doing talks direct from spirit. And I just thought, it's obviously going to be a job I've got to do myself. Sit and read, get books, research, dig them out of old church libraries, because there are a lot of books out there. And then sometimes just sit with the spirit world itself and see if I can, through my thick head, hear their vibration clearly enough to get the words direct from them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I can't do things like automatic writing, but I can write incredibly quickly when they're with me. And then I'll go back and read it and think, actually, that answers something I needed to know. And I don't think, again, we practice some of these old skills that I couldn't, as I'm not an automatic writer, but even just sitting with the power of spirit to take down their thoughts, to feel what it is that we need to know about at that particular point in our life. All these things come into use further on down the line somewhere.
Yeah. I have that occasionally. Something will just come through spontaneously, and I think, please keep that going. I'm working next week. I want that to come out, because that was just beautiful. But yeah, when you get your own philosophy like that is absolutely amazing. So, anyway, I've got to get this young lady fed. Otherwise, diabetes is going to kick in. She'll start swearing and throwing things or something.
No, I won't. Don't be mean.
And is it dancing naked around the tree?
No. I didn't say anything about naked.
No, it's warm. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I hope we have
entertained you.
Yeah, and just. The wonderful thing about these nights is we're engaging in this debate. We are talking about things and stimulating conversation and thoughts with people.
We're putting the energy out there. Use it as you see fit.
Yeah, and agree or disagree, absolutely fine. Absolutely fine, as long as it's in that energy of debate all the time. So have a wonderful evening, everybody. We're going to break open the sherry here. So we hope you've given you, whether you're watching live tonight or later on catch up on the various platforms. This is the energy of spiritualism. It's about communication with each other on this plane. Yeah. It's about debate. It's about experience and stretching the imagination. And brilliant night. Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Didn't do bad. I didn't tell her to about 10 to 7. Oh, by the way, surprise! Don't come and stay at Paul Church.
You have to earn your bed for the night.
Oh gosh, yes. Oh yes. Anyway, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful night. Elaine will be taking our Lyceum service tomorrow. And in the Lyceum service, instead of where we would have normally the reading followed by the address, we will have a piece on one aspect of the history of our wonderful movement of spiritualism. So it's a good opportunity to learn, and you can join in if you're in the area. We would love to see you. Doors open at 10:15 for 11 o'clock start. If you're further afield, you can watch live on our Facebook page for the Paul Christian Spiritualist Church. And later on, you can catch it up on our YouTube channel. And then later on, you may even get it on a podcast. Get it all digitized here. Wonderful.
Is it catching?
Yeah. Terrible. Anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful evening, everybody. Take care. Lots of love. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you, darling.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful.
Okay.